morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning where we have Grumpy. He's back in effect over here. Well, how are we doing, everyone? Quiet weekend. Not a lot of news, which is kind of concerning more than anything else, but we'll try to get to the headlines. Matush is going to be joining us. The Polish Prince will be on. I think shortly, actually, because he is going to be joining us from his limo. So check that out from his vehicle. So we'll see. So better than no Matush at all. So Sir Z's here. Good morning, Alan. Good morning, cats and dogs. We headed over the weekends. It's not too bad out there right now. Kenny, good morning, sir. Yes, as we gather around, grab your coffee and let's talk about the lack of news more than anything else, probably. And then when Matush comes in, we'll probably talk food or something because there's really not a lot going on. I don't know if you guys are getting. I guess let's do a worry meter over here. How worried are we getting? Because we talked about this, I think, on the last Monday nights, or I can't remember one of the shows last week. That if it's gonna happen, it would happen by before this window closes, which is tomorrow. So are we worried? Because I do worry that if it doesn't get done tomorrow, it might not happen at all. Because that's leaving too much of a gap now to be able to. I mean, I think they just can't sign it. Obviously, they can agree on things and stuff like that, but it's still a concern that if it doesn't get done now, I don't know if it will ever get done. Especially the Verts deal more than the like Kirkes or anything like that. I think Kirkes is a different situation, and I can kind of see Bournemouth trying to see what they're going to do and stuff like that. I wouldn't say the same for Kirkes that if it doesn't happen by tomorrow, it might not happen. But I do have a feeling like that about Verts, and I have no idea why I feel like that. But apart from that, I don't know how your guys' weekend was. Quiet weekend overall. Did the live watch line with my brother for the Turkey USA game, and what a shit show that was. It was a game between guys trying to prove themselves for the U.S. and a Turkish team that was trying to decide, do I go to New York from here or do I go to Boston from here? And that's how they kind of started the game. They concede very early, and then they wake up for like 10, 15 minutes. They're like, you know what? Okay, this is getting ridiculous. They play, they press and stuff like that. They score two, and then the rest of it. Mind you, Arda's goal was a comedy of goals over there by itself. But I mean, yeah, I didn't want to like them to lose and then hear from like Gally and Pickler and stuff tonight. So at least they won. Turkey won. So that's the good news there. But yeah, not a fun game to watch at all. God knows, Abdul Rahim. We're waiting. Let's hope. Like I say, I'm not as worried about Kirkes in terms of like the tomorrow deadline. I am worried. God, it's raining everywhere, huh? Yeah, you guys are jinxing it, but it looks like, I mean, it did rain yesterday and stuff, but looks like it might be a semi-decent day over here until tonight. But honestly, over the weekend, probably the biggest news is this right here, where you can see Frank looks just as shocked as we are in the photo, but yeah, there has to be a better photo for Frank to put on this news, you would think. But yeah, Thomas Frank might be going to Spurs. I don't know what you guys think about this for in terms of Thomas Frank and in terms of like Tottenham, for example, Tottenham firing Ange. I don't know. Let's do a show of hands over here and see what you guys think. Was it look, normally if you look at the league and the overall season and stuff like that, you would probably say, well, yeah, duh. But this is Spurs, and they did something not Spursy and actually win a trophy. Shouldn't that kind of cancel out everything else? Because let's face it, like towards the end, they kind of, both United and them, they realized this was their only chance in getting in Champions League and, getting anything out of this season at all. And they, put the starting 11s like that. And obviously sucked in the league, but at the end they made it to the final and they win it. It's not a very Spurs thing to do to win a trophy, and then they can them. So in some ways, I think would like to see like what Jake thinks on the panel, for example. But in some ways, I thought, and like Spurs fans were down all year, but then I think they appreciate, maybe fans appreciate more than anything else, that there was a trophy being won at the end. Um, more than maybe like Levy. But I mean, here's the thing: they're not gonna get rid of him. Doesn't look like anytime soon because it's all about money, and they make money, and so the club itself is happy as things are, financially at least. So in terms of how much they spend, what portion of it they spend, what they put on wages and stuff like that, they are going to be paying a lot to Thomas Frank over here. Which, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about Thomas Frank being the right guy for that. I mean, that's something to ask Glenn probably, but I think it's a different ordeal to manage Brentford, establish a culture. You're a lot more protected from like the media and stuff like that, and be able to kind of like do your thing, establish your team, establish your style, and then kind of like carry on. He's done really well at Brentford, and Brentford is a fun team to watch. So it'll be interesting to see what I mean. Spurs has a good roster overall, but well, when these managers change, of course, you know how that goes. Like the new guy is going to be like, well, these guys don't really fit my style, so they're going to have some kind of a turnover. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the off season now. If Thomas Frank signs, you would think there would be some kind of agreement. This is exactly what I was thinking. Like he may go to Spurs. I mean, I don't know if it affects Callagher, to be honest with you, but good morning, sir. How's it going? Second is was right call. Not sure Thomas Frank is the right decision for us. But who would be though? I mean, I guess that's the. I thought to myself the same question: is that the right guy? But the next question is, okay, then who is? And I really don't know who it could be, just because. I mean, they've gone through some top managers, and it's not a matter of. It's never a matter of. It goes back to what Alan was saying. It's not a matter of like the manager. I think over there, it's similar to United's. Like they're maybe it's different. I don't think it's as much of a culture thing, which, if you go back to what Conte said as he was trying to get fired in those press conferences, during the press conference, I mean, he made it sound like it is a culture thing. Like everybody's pretty happy with how things are over here and stuff. And he was not too thrilled about it because obviously he's not a guy like that. And he goes to Italy and wins. So they had Mourinho, who they fired before a final, which is also like ridiculous. And he's kind of like talked about that as well. So it is kind of like a culture thing. So I don't know, is Thomas Frank going to be able to change that culture over there? God knows. It is a relatively young team. So maybe as like, with the new players, a lot of newer players, a lot of younger players, it might be slightly easy to change it. I hope Brentford do not appoint a crappy manager. See, because he's a goalie, I mean, yeah, getting relegated, I guess, would be a thing. But because he's a goalie, I don't think it affects his play at all. It's a different situation if you sold him. I don't know, like, let's say Elliott went there and then they did a manager change. Then I would be more concerned for the player because they were like, oh, the system, am I going to fit and stuff like that. But with a goalie, I mean, that's the goalie they signed and they already sold the other guy. So it's not like, the new guy is going to come in knowing the finances too. I mean, they spent this money on this guy. They sold the other guy. So it's not like they're going to go out and buy another goalie for 25, 30. So Keller is safe. I know what you're saying, though, like with the team performing, worse, will they get like relegated? Then he could be in a relegation zone. But I mean, I don't know. I think he just wanted to be a number one, regardless of where. And, like there have been teams who had, relegation battles and then got transferred to another team because it was definitely not the goalie and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Keller does in a team like that. I will give you that, just because is he a guy who's going to thrive on constantly being peppered by shots? Because some goalies do, that's why it's kind of like a more difficult ordeal to play on a top team, because you have to be ready, because anything, like a counter can happen and stuff like that. But there are a lot of times where you're kind of out of the action, as opposed to, I don't know, like playing for like Leicester City, where you're constantly busy, and that is a totally different ordeal. So it'll be interesting to see if they become a team like that, how Keller handles that. But I mean, I hope he does well. There was, we were talking about his like money and stuff like that, but I think we all wish him well. Champions, with Spurs being in Champions League next season, they needed someone with European know-how. Does Frank have a lot of European know-how though? Move up to 4-6. Yeah, I guess let's talk about that. Who will, since unfortunately I don't have a lot of transfer news to share. Yeah, I did see some rumors about Verts landing and stuff like that. But last night, I also saw that the last bid we sent was rejected, but it's really close. So I don't understand the point of rejecting if it's really close. You would think they'll be like, "How about this?" and then they would get it done instead of like officially sending these back and forth and stuff. But it's looks like my conversations with like ChatGPT more than anything else. Lind, no, no, I don't think anybody is right now giving Linders a top job, especially in the Premier League. No way. I don't think so. I think if Linders would get anything, it would have been at the Championship side or something like that. But I don't think anybody is giving the keys to the car to Linders after they've seen the number of accidents he's had as the main guys. Some people are just really good number twos, and they're not, well, not in that sense, but like some really good assistants, but not as good managers. And I could have been the situation and stuff. I mean, I don't consider this first situation all on him, but the obviously the last one, you would have to give it to him and his performance as a manager there. Fair or not, it does affect how people would look at him, I would think. And I think that was probably a lot better route for him to go to be an assistant again, but be an assistant of a top manager who could kind of, first, you can learn from them, and two, you can kind of maybe get a job a bit easier knowing, Pep has this, you have Pep's blessing, or something like that. But I don't think Brent would ever have hired Linders, to be honest with you. I don't think he has a shot. So, I mean, let's ask that part because Mr. Barry was talking about like Spurs doing well. Who do you guys think finish higher next season, United or Tottenham? Because United is making some moves, but they do have to clear a lot of space now to kind of like be able to get, first of all, like fix the financials and stuff like that. And obviously, then they're gonna lose Garnacho and stuff like that. I know Cunha to me he's a great player and he will get them some points with just like some like crazy stuff. Like, goals that he gets, maybe they had no business scoring or, like against the run of play and things like that. But to me, he seems like, we've heard of stories and stuff like that at Wolves. He seems like the wrong kind of guy to get into like a system where there's already a lot of like stabbing and unrest, I guess, let's say, because he doesn't look like the kind of guy who's going to stay out of the unrest, right? But it will be interesting to see how he does there. I think like say Mbuemo as well, if they sign him, even though for ridiculous wages. And I think that's why I don't think he would go to Spurs, going back to what Cersei was talking about, because I don't think Tottenham is paying those wages because that's high. Like 250 for Mbuemo, I feel like it's really, really high. Um, but I mean, United has to overpay. So like he would have maybe taken, 175, 200 from Liverpool, play Champions League, play for the title, and like play for trophies and stuff like that, and go into a more stable situation. So United to bring people in, like, why would I come there, kind of thing. I know United still has the name. I know we kind of like love the banter and like trashing them, but still everybody wants to be the hero that saves United, kind of a deal. But you have to United has to sweeten the deal with a lot of extra cash as salary, and that's why he's getting 250 a week. So I don't think Spurs would pay that. He would not go there. But going back to United, if they get Mbuemo as well with Cunha, I think they have some players who are going to change games for them. So they will win them points, but who will finish higher? Because Spurs has like, overall, I feel a lot better team. I mean, when we were looking at, Spurs, I think when Spurs were playing United, we were watching the Europa final with my brother, and like how many guys would you take from United and put them on Spurs? But then he literally said, and this is the state of United here, how many guys would you want from we want from United to bring on to Fenerbahce? So, and that's not a lot of players either, which is really weird to say. But that's like the state their squad is in right now. Okay, top six, Pool and City. I got that. Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, United. That's interesting. I don't know if I put it that low over there, but we'll get the Prince over here soon, straight from his limo, and then we'll go from there. I mean, it's going to be, get ready for this because this is how princes live and go to work or, whatever he does over here. But like, let's just bring him on over here. What's going on That's some limo you got going there.
Yeah, it's quite the limo. Can you hear me okay? I don't know if the sound's
Yes.
coming through. The sound's fine. Yeah, this limo, it's I have to drive it weirdly enough, so I don't know how much of a limo it really counts as, but I'm here. I'm trying.
So you're doing coaching, right?
Yeah,
Coaching basketball.
correct. Well, it's summer camp right now, so we're doing everything from fifth graders all the way through varsity high school, but I'm the JV coach at the high school here.
And how is that working out for you? How so? What the kids are? Because the reason I ask is when I ref, I was doing like junior high, and my goal was, this summer I was gonna get the next license and start doing high school. As I was doing junior high, I was like, yeah, I think this is as whole as I can handle on the pitch in terms of like teenage attitude and stuff like that. Every team has one or two players that kind of give you the attitude. I'm like, I don't know if I can handle 22 of these guys out here. So, how are you? How was the coaching?
The younger kids are definitely a little rougher, but honestly, there's the program here is really good, and especially when it comes to practicing, the kids practice hard and they pay attention, so they do put in 100% effort and they do pay attention and they do listen. So I know other places are probably more difficult and probably rougher, but here it's actually not too bad. Although I do hate trying to do summer camp for fourth and fifth graders because I'm beyond that. I don't that's not my level. I obviously it's not my level, but it's more like it's one of those things where I want the kids to know what a fundamental pass is. I don't want to teach them what a bounce pass is. Like
Uh,
that's
okay.
that's that's where I don't want to be at.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I thought you meant like in terms of age and stuff. You're talking more like level and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Sebastian, if you're going to pick up verts at the airports,
Yeah, I
uh,
don't know if he would fit in this car, but that's okay.
so yeah, let me ask you that. How worried are you getting worried? Because I was talking about, especially with verts, I do get more worried if this deal does not get done by this first window closing.
Yeah, it's that's where I'm at too. I think with all the smoke, and obviously there's more than smoke, right? Everything is there. It's just a matter of agreeing to the fee that they can't seem to agree on. At some point, you just have to sit back and just give them what they're asking for if you're viewing this guy as such a generational talent. Because the difference between, let's say, 130 and 120, what is it really other than 10 million? The obvious answer, right? So yeah, I don't, it's frustrating because it's been going for so long, almost 2 weeks now, right? We've been waiting for the official announcement for 2 weeks, and it just seems like the farther we go, the less likely the announcement's going to get, even though apparently the fees are pretty much agreed. The player fees are agreed upon. It's just that the clubs need to get the bonuses taken care of, and it's worrying. It is worrying.
I mean, so I'm looking over here. I mean, is this accurate that it goes to the 10th right now, right? It says it then closes and reopens on June 16th. That doesn't sound right, does it?
I don't know. Someone's gonna have to fact check that for me. I can't. I don't have my fact checking in front of me.
Where's your Google when you need it? Yeah, I mean, so we're only talking 6 days over here. I honestly thought they had a lot bigger gap. Now that Sir Z asked, I kind of like looked it up over here. So this one ends on the 10th and then opens up again on the 16th. I kind of thought, because actually Angie was asking me yesterday, why are they even doing two windows? So what is the point of doing two windows? Do you know? Or does anybody know? Why are we doing two windows?
Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yes, but you have to
Okay.
give an answer. For us
I don't
to
know
hear, you have to be answering the question.
because FIFA wants to give the teams who are in the Club World Cup a fair go for a week. I don't know. It seems like a silly amount to close down for the week.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was like during the tournaments, because Angel was asking like, why are they even doing two windows? And I honestly think they were doing it so that obviously, if we're talking about Verts going to Liverpool or this guy going to like here and stuff like that, the entire soccer world is going to be talking about these moves as opposed to what's going on over there between a Saudi team and another one and stuff. Nobody's going to be paying attention to that. Football flashback is here. What's going on, man? He's will you guys be watching Club World Cup? You know you're going to be betting on that shit, dude. So I know you're going to be watching. I'm not. I mean, I will watch it just because it's football, and I think we lost. Did we lose you, Matush? Did the limo freeze? The limo connection is not good. So we'll get him back here in a second. But yeah, I mean, this is all like another tournament. I don't know if like what the players think about it, but I think in terms of like watching it, I mean, yeah, it'll be watched just because it's soccer and it's on TV. Like I'll watch it, I'll put it on and like watch it regardless of who it is. But I don't know if how invested I'm going to be. I'm not going to like schedule my day around it and stuff. Like starting vacation at the end of this week, so there'll be some scheduling happening for the Friday show and some of like the next week's show. By the way, I'll announce that once it's finalized on Wednesday. But going on vacation, and that's what I usually do, just chill and watch during the game and stuff. So I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, the game is on, so we have to go there later or something like that. How I normally arrange the weekends around like game times, I will not be doing that for this. So while they hit the likes, yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me because I always forget to say it. Yes, if you're watching us right now, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, because it does go a long way in getting this in front of other virgin eyes who have not seen us yet. I heard they agreed on 140 euros, 100 mil down. I don't know, man. I hope so. I mean, like going back to that, it feels like it's too much in like they knew how much it's going to be from the get-go. Maybe they thought they never were going to be in this, but because I mean, we didn't, right? I mean, I didn't. I was asked over here like a month ago, and I was like, no way, Bayern will get him because he's German, he's young. Bayern gets what they want. But so maybe like FSG didn't think, we're like, oh shit, we're in the Verts thing. It's like, what? 150? We didn't think we were gonna get him. So I don't know if that's the situation, but it feels like it's too late to go back now. This is not like a Casiedo kind of a deal where even then we gave the money. He said, oh, I promised over here or whatever, and it was probably like better wages and all that kind of stuff. But it's not the same situation. I just feel like it's kind of like too difficult to come back from this and say, no, we changed our minds. Because I almost feel like, here's another thing. If you're getting Verts, maybe rest of your summer plans have kind of like adjusted as well. So are you going to go back to the original plan now and stuff? I just feel like we're at the point of no return. So I hope I'm right. So this one is to help clubs in Club World Cup. So how does the 5-day gap like help them? I guess that's what I'm like confused with. Like I'm not understanding how it's really helps them. Somebody explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old because I'm not understanding a 5-year-old. Thank God we got 5 days to get prepared for this. Like, well, are they like I gotta still pack and stuff like that? Like, what is going on? What's the big deal? Just do your business. It's not like the players are doing the arrangements unless it's because all these contracts are usually like June 1st and stuff anyway. But hey, what's up, man? We're in UK because we do have a lot of followers from UK. Are you from Liverpool or? I mean, look, they wanted him there, but this window opens June 1st normally anyway, right? So I understand like the first window so that they can sign him earlier and take him over there. That's the parts I'm not confused. Or I don't know if the contracts normally go to like June 30th or June 15th or something, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to look into it more because I know it's had to do with the tournament, which is really stupid by itself. Like people are really bending over backwards to create shit to make money at this point. But kind of like the what is it, Nations League or whatever over the weekend. I don't know if you guys like was able to like watch it or if you guys cared to watch it. I watched it a little bit here and there, but this is what I mean. Like yesterday, I knew the final was on, but I never got around to it, and I was like, meh. And then I'm like, oh, it's an overtime, and then it was like, oh, it went to penalties, but that's about it. I never just turned it on. It's just gonna be like, Ronaldo's alligator tears. I'm not interested in watching. New goalkeeper, yes. I mean, it's really odd, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with the kid, but he was talking about like he didn't know some of the things. It sounded like he didn't know some of the things that the club knew about him. Like, did you know? Like, you save this, and you don't do this kind of a deal. He was amazed with some of the stats they had for him, like in terms of like how much they looked into him and stuff like that. So that's kind of like an odd ordeal. But yes, he's supposed to be, but I don't know, man. I find it like really, really difficult. Call me cynical, like an old bastard, but I'm very skeptical when we sign somebody young and he's touted as, oh, he's going to be the next big thing and stuff like that. Because maybe because I'm old. I mean, how many players have we seen over the years that he's going to be huge, he's going to be huge, and it never happens? Goalies are really risky too. It's kind of like I mean, look at like, okay, like I know it's gonna bring like PTSD to a lot of Liverpool fans, but look at somebody like Karius, right? I mean, he was supposed to be, and he was for the most part a good goalie, but one thing can kind of, because it's such so based on confidence, and it just kind of like derailed the entire career. So it's kind of like sometimes for these young kids, it's just the opportunity. What happens? He gets a shot, he has a huge game, and then it carries on and stuff. So but I did read that he is something special, and they've been looking at him for a long time and stuff. It's a big deal, 120, 130. Yes. But I understand that. Yeah, I mean that's probably fair. Maybe we're like thinking. I mean, it goes back to what Mitchell's like. What's the difference? It's another 10 million kind of a deal. I mean, obviously, if you threw 10 million around like that, you wouldn't be able to run a club. But he can say that he's just a prince. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably more about like payments. I heard a lot of it was on bonuses, and how easy, difficult it is to get those bonuses and stuff like that. I read somewhere that that was one of the sticking points as well. So yes, it is a big ordeal, and I'm sure it's complicated. I honestly thought there was a bigger gap between the two windows where a lot of things can change, kind of a deal. I don't think a lot can change in like 6 days over here. So that kind of like changes a bit more. Um, yeah, I mean I mean it's like the biggest deal for us, obviously the Premier League. I mean it's a lot of money. I mean, how shocked are you guys though, by the way? Like I don't think anybody, it's weird now we're talking about it like what's another 10 million, but I don't think, if I told you guys, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, we're gonna have like the biggest deal of the summer and stuff, you'd be like, get the hell out of here. That's not gonna happen. If I told you guys like the money that's, like this deal is going to be, I don't think anybody would have been like, oh yeah, I know. I mean, it's a shock to everybody, not only the player and the fact that we can get him away from Bayern and stuff. Even if it was anybody else, I don't think anybody would expect Liverpool to fork out this much money. And that says everything you need to know about what they think about the player. And if they think so highly of the player that they went into this, I don't see them getting up and be like, you know what, I'm not feeling this, I'm like leaving. But that kind of helps Bayer a lot, Bayer Leverkusen a lot. The only thing is there's nobody out there right now that will come and give the money. So I don't think, like Bayern is gonna step in, or like Real is not gonna step in and be like, yeah, we'll pay 140 for him and take him or something like that. I just, that's not how they do business, number one. And they keep signing like these other young guys and stuff like that. So I don't think that's gonna happen. But that gives like an advantage to Liverpool in terms of like the bargaining. But then Leverkusen has, they don't have to make a deal. So it's kind of odd. They all have their, and that's probably what's making it so complicated, really, because both sides have some things going for them at the negotiating table. So, which is probably making the negotiating go longer because one person can't just give in. Kepa cost, yeah, the good old times, right? Yes, I mean that dude has gone down in a heap. And here's the thing. And I know we think a lot more about Keller and stuff, but Kepa going for 10 million, I think makes the Keller deal look pretty legit and pretty sound, right? I know we think, you know, opinion on Kelleher, as we know from our Discord channel, varies, but you know, 10 million for Kepa, I was kind of shocked in terms of one, how low like he's gotten, not only value wise, which is ridiculous, by the way. Yeah, because he was, and he probably still is. Isn't he still the most expensive goalie? I don't think anybody has beaten that, right? So for him to drop that low, number one, in terms of value, but in terms of like status, he's a backup. Like, I'm shocked that no other team in the Premier League, not even the guys who just came up to the Premier League, said, "Hey, you know what? We'll go after a guy that has like Premier League experience and all that kind of stuff. And at 10 million, that's a deal, kind of a deal, and like go for him." I mean, he can't be. Let's look at real quick how old he is, but I don't think he's 30. So I guess yeah, that kind of like changed a little bit. But at 30, he still has like 4 or 5 years, especially a team that just came up to the Premier League. I thought, he would have a shot like that. It's kind of like shocking that nobody went in for him, and he's a backup. That's really odd. And and he's a backup at Arsenal too. Like it's not like he's a backup in a team where they might make a goalie change mid-season and stuff like that. He's behind Raya, and he's going to be behind Raya. I'm amazed like he didn't go back to Spain or something like that. That is shocking. CC in Brooklyn. Surprise Keller didn't go for 20 million plus. We talked about it a lot. I mean, at the end, I felt 20 to 25, and that was solely based on the run he had mid-season, well, like almost like what 2 months or whatever. I felt that would automatically add 5 to 10 to his value, so he would go 20 to 25 kind of a deal. But I didn't think that. So that's another thing. It's kind of like the market determining the value at the end. And you look over here, guy with this much experience as the starting goalkeeper is going for 10. Mind you, he is, obviously he's older, but still he has like more experience and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just like kind of ridiculous how much the value has fallen over here. And that's why, going back to the goalie conversation we're having, I feel like that's such a risky. That's why, I mean, look, we spent a lot of money. It makes actually, if anything, and I was asking, so I think I was asking Bickler this question, and I think we were in agreement that it does make our purchase pretty darn expensive for Mamardashvili. And so he better turn out to be, the successor to Ali, because otherwise 30, I think when we pay for him, right, is a lot, knowing the market right now. It's a lot we paid for him. So hopefully he is the future. If he's the future, I think you're good. But it's a very risky purchase. And hey, I remember when we signed Ali, there were a lot of people here talking about, oh, we scored 5 on him. Why are we getting a guy? Blah, blah, blah. Right. I mean, there was a lot of that, if you guys remember. So the goalie transfers are always risky. I mean, look at Onana. Look at, like what Tottenham has done. Chelsea has like 17 goalkeepers or something, none of them better than the others. So it's very tricky to get that goalkeeper. I mean, if you're here in the US, for example, I kind of like, it's almost like getting like a kicker or something like that for it's probably the closest position I can think of in American sports. Is probably a kicker for like a football team in the NFL, because once you get them, you're set. They're there for like usually like 6 to 8 years or whatever. But man, getting them is very difficult because based so much on confidence, consistency, and stuff like that. And they can cost you games, they can win you games. So I feel like that's probably like the closest position. It's very, very tricky. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be expensive, but it's really tricky to get like the right guy that's going to take you. Once you hit it, man, like, I mean, how long has Allah been here? Like 7 years, 8 years, something like that, right? So, I mean, once you hit it, you're good for a long time. But yeah, getting that right guy is not easy at all. He's getting 100,000 plus. Jeez, really? I mean, I'll be a backup for that. Sure, why not? I don't know. He's 30, I guess. I mean, it's not like he's suddenly gonna be, and it's like tough, right? It's like, like I always consider like national team and stuff like that. But that was my thing, like World Cup and stuff. Would he want to be like in a team where he's doing really well and gets called up? But I think he's so low on the pecking order with like Simone and stuff like that. So player prices will be going up after the World Cup. Oh, next year. Let's see who's allowed into that. So Diaz is staying unless goes for 75. That's, I don't know. We actually, you know what? Let me pull that up for you guys here. I haven't looked at it in a while and see where we're at with it, but we had a poll on this. Let me share it right here. We're at 83 votes on this poll right now. Would you sell him for the 72 we put it at? And 66% said yes out of the 83 votes. Um, and yes, I did see this that Turkey is going over there. Okay, this is like bizarre world. Is it just me? Because this looks like it would be the complete opposite. Like complete opposite is a lot more likely scenario where we both going for verts. We're like 150, get the hell out of here, and we walk away. And we get a guy like Turkey, and we're like, we got the same guy for like 25 million or whatever that he's going to cost. Because I think he's on a free, right? If I remember right, isn't he like a free from Olympic Lyon, or did they have like a year left on his contract? But either way, like that feels like bizarro world over here where we would be doing a deal like that. They would get the expensive guy. So it just feels odd that that's what's happening this off season. And I hope it's not one of those deals where it's the complete opposite, which is probably like my biggest fear is, the price tag affecting Verts. I know the kid has a lot of experience for his age, and he's like very grounded and stuff like that from everything we read. But 40, 25, I mean, either way, it's like a very cheap purchase compared. FSU would have been called cheap. Let's put it that way, right? Like if we went in for Verts, we kind of was like, popped our head in the room and we are like, how much? 100. Okay, like, and then we just left and then went and signed a guy for like 25, 40 or whatever. Would be like FSG is cheap, so this is how Liverpool does business, frugal and stuff like that. So it's kind of like weird that it's kind of like the other way around over here where we're doing the expensive purchase and City is going in for these deals. And maybe it's because they have a lot more areas to address. They can put all their eggs in one basket, whereas and not a lot of sellable assets unless they sell some of their aging guys to like the Saudi league and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of like Turkish teams hovering around in the back to see if anybody gets thrown so they can dig in the dumpster and get like a Bernardo Silva or Gündoğan and stuff like that. Gündoğan seems like the one. Obviously, his name is Gündoğan, so a lot of ties to Turkey and stuff like that. But that's not going to be expensive for no Turkish team is going to come in and like drop 40. So it would be that's not going to bring you a lot of funds to spend on other players. But yeah, well, it is one less striker. And I mean, honestly, though, it would be him or Verts, I would think, right? Like, you're not going to get Turkey, and unless you're moving on from Diaz. I'm not a big fan of moving in over Diaz unless it's that kind of money. So I'm totally okay with them saying, okay, we'll stay put. We'll see what happens. Maybe they do something next year, or maybe they. I don't think they extend him either because of his age. I don't think they're going to extend it. He's no Mo. So I don't think they're gonna like change that and extend them and do anything like that. It would be nice for him to get bits more. I don't know why we feel bad for a guy making 55. He's only making 50. But yeah, it does seem kind of like a little odd that he's making so little in terms of like wages and stuff like that. So do we see Frimpong play on the right wing at times? I hope so. Let's go with that. I mean, obviously there's the AFCON, right? So he's definitely going to be, I mean, I'm saying definitely, but most likely going to be playing there then while Mo is gone. But over time, I do think we kind of do the horses for courses kind of a deal. And, if we're going to be playing, if we need more defensive work out of our right back, I think we're going to go with Bradley. If we're going at somebody, or we're home or something like that, and we do the overlap speed and all that, I think we go for Frimpong in those games. But we could see, I mean, especially with Verts coming, if he's coming, and if Kirkes is on the left hand side, we will definitely see a team that's playing differently. So, um, over 20 clubs or maybe kicked out of Europe as yes. Actually, I was going to ask how Kevin is feeling about that because I did see that. Uh, they have like I didn't realize it was like 20 clubs. But I know they have like a bunch of like smaller clubs. And I know that's why like FSG was looking into purchasing. That seems to be the way to go. It's a way to get around the whole financial structure right now. So it's almost like, I mean, over here, if you're in the US, it's like having minor leagues. and then like you send the guy down there. So if you buy, I mean, you see what Real is doing, where they buy like a lot of like young guys. So a lot of these teams, instead of like loaning them out, like literally they're like sending him down there. The advantage of that is they can play in a system similar to your U team. It's almost like you have like a bunch of U teams actually, and then they play in the same system, so you can actually kind of see the guy in your system. Back in the day when we used to, I had so much time, no kids, and uh, we would do like this NBA league thing. You could try a guy on your team, like see how you like his release and stuff like that. This is like old school NBA, by the way. So it's almost like that. You get the guy, you kind of like try him over there in your system, a young dude, and then you're like, yes, he'll thrive in the system. And then you kind of like bump him up to your regular team and stuff. I don't know if I like how this is going, but that could be like an old guy yelling at clouds, because it's gonna be like phone companies, like they're just like buying out everybody. At the end, it's gonna be like 10. So all this is kind of coming to a Super League, kind of like an ordeal. Slowly but surely, it will end up there. So, no, don't like it, but can't fight the money, unfortunately. Um, I reckon we should brace ourselves. Yes, I think there is, especially if you're getting Verts, the guy that you don't have on this team right now. It's a cross between like a Sabosla and a McAllister and stuff. I'm like really excited to have him. Man, I have like so many YouTube videos saved. I am not watching it. I am not watching highlights, but I'm so excited. I've seen him before, so I don't have to. But it's like he's real good, and it's gonna be like a joy to watch. I mean, right now, my favorite guy to watch on this team is McAllister, and Verts might get that um, over him. To be honest with you, I don't know. Like in terms of how much fun, I really, really enjoy watching how McAllister plays the game. I mean, it is just like it's an art when you watch McAllister play the game. He's not that flashy, fast, blah blah blah, but how he plays, how he can. It's almost like a point guard where he can kind of slow it down, speed it up, and now you're gonna get another guy like that a bit higher up the pitch. And I think this definitely then leaves Mac where he's at. And I've been saying it for the entire year that I would rather have Mac a bit like where he's at now. I know everybody is very keen to, and throughout the season, especially when you had the pool run, everybody want to get rid of Dom and kind of like push Mac up there and stuff. I really think this suits him better because he's very good in picking his spots in terms of making those runs into the box, want to change gears and stuff like that, and you need that. So, Guinness after fixing my fish pond. What kind of fish, man? What time is it? I guess it is like okay. It's a good time to do yard stuff and all that. So, and then Guinness sounds good, even though it's not. I'm not a Guinness fan actually. Cold beer sounded good for some reason, even though it's freaking 9:45. I need this vacation. Once I go on vacation, I'll be having it at 9:45. I won't care. But yeah, it's I'm not a big Guinness fan. I don't know. My brother is. I can't drink that stuff. I just can't. I don't know what it is. It's the texture, I think, more than it's so damn thick, dude. I just can't do it. I'm more like a lager guy. So um really with David Penn. Good old David Penn, I remember that. Yeah, 350. Yes, I always forget to say, do hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so as well. We are almost at 1200, slowly but surely getting there. And have some news coming up, hopefully in the next week or so, for the podathon, the 24-hour podathon. Speaking of vacation, this is where I came up with this idea last time I was on vacation. So everybody's horrified that I'm going on vacation to see what I'm going to come back with this time. But last year, while I was on vacation, I came up with this idea of the 24-hour podathon. And if you're new to the channel and you didn't see it, basically me, Bickler, and Gally, we were on air for 24 hours straight. We had hourly sponsors. We had a silent auction. We had a GoFundMe and everything like that set up for the 23 Foundation for Jamie Carragher, and ended up totaling $5,000 last year. So we're extremely proud of that. Getting ready for this year's. It's going to happen. We do have the date set now. It's going to start the day before and ends after the Charity Shield game. So we're going to do the live watch along for that game. That's when it's going to end. We're looking to see if we can do it on site somewhere, including at Carragher. So but that's coming up. So started to work on that. So if you are interested, if you know somebody who would be interested in sponsoring an hour, please do let us know. You can sponsor an hour. It doesn't have to be a company. We had quite a few individuals sponsor hours last year, so we would love to have more of that. 24 hours up for grabs. And then hopefully, maybe it's like, we'll kind of like, it'll be easier to do the 24 hours. But yeah, hit that like button, do the subscribe, and do invite friends. Hopefully, we'll get more traction this time because the channel is a lot bigger than it was this time last year, that's for sure, and our social media and everything like that. So we're really hoping to increase those numbers. Will Bickler will need something. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched last year, but I think the best moments, a moment that I will never probably forget, is Bickler saying, "Where am I?" Somewhere around, like, I think it was 22 hours in, where we were just like totally gone at the time. Yeah, I literally thought when you're sitting by the pool, 24 hours straight doesn't sound as difficult as when you're sitting. And those guys have it easy. They're just like sitting there, like talking, changing jerseys occasionally. I was the one, I'm the one pushing all the buttons, getting people on air, messaging and stuff like that. Because we did have all the sponsors come on air if they wanted to and chat with people. And like we were talking about Liverpool at the time, and I don't think any of us expected the the biggest optimist amongst us was winning the title just as a homer pick, but I don't think any of us really expected that to happen at the end of the day. But let's see what happens in the. Hopefully, we'll be talking some transfers soon. But it will be very interesting because we'll have a bunch of preseason games under our belt at the time to kind of see what we're doing and stuff like that. So, some blind tunnel. Yeah, I honestly, like, I did not think everybody was more concerned about what are we going to talk about. And honestly, like, we had like different topics listed. We'll talk about this and we'll talk about that and stuff like that. Yes, you did. So you, like, the only one that you want to pull receipts on in terms of your predictions. But I did too. But I did it as a homer pick. I didn't really believe in it. I just did it just because, like, I do it every year, kind of a deal. Um, but yeah, honestly, more than topics, I just didn't realize it would be difficult physically. It was difficult physically. We started at 12 at noon, went until noon the next day. And I remember somewhere around 2, 3 in the morning, I was like, yeah, this might not have been the best idea. Like, almost, almost like getting a little dizzy and stuff. But it was a lot of fun. And you kind of, like, as you saw the dollars go up, as you saw, like, people interacting, coming on air. And I do appreciate everybody who came on that day, who joined us on the chat that day, because it really made it go a lot better. And at the end of the day, like, it was probably one of the most rewarded things we've done on this channel. We did a fundraiser for Turkey once for the earthquake, but we were very small then, so it was really nice to do the $5,000. That's quite the amount over there. And I know 23 Foundation was. So talking to them right now. Hopefully, we're gonna get the same setup, similar setup going this year. Give prediction for top four, man. Okay, so, like, this is, I don't want to, like, people are watching. Z will, like, keep records of this, like, like, bring out receipts. But I'll go as things are now. I will go Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Newcastle. Yeah, let's roll with that. I think that's what I'll go with right now. Newcastle really depends on what they do. Like, do they add or do they subtract? I think that's going to be the main thing over there. I reckon we have another major signing. The first I got settled. Oh man, that would be something though, right? And it's weird because now we're going to be. I mean, look at last year, look at this year. We're going to be going into this year like all gung ho and like excited. I mean, you go to every season excited, but let's face it, we had, like, had a lot of doubts last year, new manager and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I don't know. Depends on who they get as well, though, right? But theirs is, man, it's risky. I mean, they're a good team, and if they get it like a solid striker, I think they're like the biggest battle over time. I just have more faith in Pep than Arteta, I guess. That's why I'm putting them second, if that makes sense. I have more faith in Pep. I know we've seen it in the past that it takes time for him to, like, when he has a lot of new players, to get things established and stuff. But once he does, it is like a well-oiled machine. And I know, no pun intended with the oil, but you got to give him credits in terms of like the job that he does. Do not even put that out in the universe. Do not. I don't think so. Based on how many, like, I don't think. Yeah, let's just not. Let's just not do that. And I was like, I spoke to the kids until this year, where I saw some other stuff coming out of him, and he is one of the very few players Slot has called out in a press conference. And I think that's writing on the wall. Not to mention, if you're not selling Diaz, especially, he is your probably your biggest asset to sell and get funds out of. So I think that's automatically why he goes. Oh man, who's the surprise team next season? This is you guys are like really dipping into the 24-hour material over here. By the way, what are we going to talk about for 24 hours? Hell no! Don't do that to Elliott. Do not do that to Elliott. I did see something else, but yeah, I would if you are getting Verts, I don't think you could keep Elliott's. And that's probably honestly, if you like Elliott's for Elliott's sake, if you were Elliott's dad, you would want him to go somewhere else because he's gonna get even less playing time. I mean, see how much playing time he gets now before Verts. He's gonna get even less playing time. So I don't think that's something like you want for the kids. But I would want a sell-on clause or like a buyback clause and a sell-on percentage and all that kind of stuff because he has the potential. He is everything. If Carvalho had Elliott's attitude and approach, I think he would be like doing really well in the Premier League right now. I think that's like he has a bit more of the ability, I think, than the agility, but Elliott has like the really good attitude, and I think he's a smart player too. Like he understands, he has like like football smarts, if you will, on the pitch. You can kind of tell, but his biggest strength was being really smart within that like Klopp system, like when he would come in and he would know exactly what's needed. Like this is the chapter I studied for the test, kind of a deal. Like he knew exactly what he needed to do. I don't think you saw it as clearly when he came off the bench during the Slot era. Having said that, because of his vision and stuff like that, he still made a lot of impact in the games he came in at. But I think his value was a lot more on the Klopp system because I think he understood that and he had that memorized a lot better over here. Do we need a new center back? If you're keeping Kwanzaa, I think you can get away with not getting another center back if you are keeping Kwanzaa. Because I think, I'm a huge Gomez fan and a huge Gomez apologist. So I do hope he comes back. And when he comes back, if he's healthy, Gomez is good stuff. So I do hope that, he comes back and, like gets his spots and plays. And he also gives like especially like during AFCON, if you pushed Frimpong up, Gomez also gives you an option for Bradley to play right back. We've seen Kwanzaa play right back, but you can kind of tell Gomez is a lot more comfortable there. So I don't think so. But I Hato and stuff like that, somebody like that. I don't think you have to do it this off season. Next off season, I think you get somebody that you're like, hey, somebody's gonna have to replace Van Dijk. Having said that, I can see Van Dijk adjusting his game. I mean, I've said this before, like similar to like Thiago Silva or somebody like that, who's kind of like adjusted his game as they aged. And, I can tell you get slower and all that kind of stuff. So, but you have to adjust your game and maybe not go in, but to the tackle, but more play, more contain and stuff like that. Help, wait till help comes from your left back and all that kind of stuff. Right now, like, Van Dijk doesn't need any help. He has the pace to recover and stuff like that. So as he adjusts his game, I don't know. You could possibly get more out of Van Dijk. I just don't know if you would be tempted at that time to say, okay, I'm out. I've been like really impressed with how he's approached this whole contract thing and stuff like that. So let's see how long he stays. He does another contract or not. It really depends on which way. It will be based on who we're getting right now, it would be a very difficult project to walk away from. It really would be. Especially like you have because you're getting a lot of youth, man. You're getting all your Dutch buddies, but you're getting like Frimpong, Carcass, Burst. These are all young dudes. So you're building a new team. It would be very, I think, difficult project to walk away from. But after a while, he's a very big family dude. You might say I won enough, I've earned enough, and stuff like that. So um, yeah, we talked about this a lot. I I think this is all guessing right now, and depends on who else we get. Right? I mean, if we get a number nine, obviously you can throw this down the drain. But I do still feel like we play a system similar to what we played against City, and almost play with four midfielders. It's almost like a 4-2-2-2, and then like when you have the possession, maybe you go back to like three in the back, so it becomes like a 3-5-2 kind of an ordeal where Gravenberg steps back a little bit, you push Kirkes and Frimpong on. But this seems like too easy, right? Like when you look at this seems too football manager. I would think there would be a lot more tweaks and adjustments that Slov would come up with, because it does seem like right there. You push them up, and stuff. So I don't know if they will make like something that nobody is expecting, because I think everybody would be expecting this. But I do think you see both of them out there. I know Saboslai's performance on the ball has left a lot to be desired, but I mean his running, his pressing, and stuff is golden, and it's like we something that we can't replace in this midfield. If anything, I think we need another person to be able to rotate with Gravenberg and McAllister. And that, Bajcetic could be that guy. We just don't know what's Slot thinks of him. Sometimes when we loan a guy out several times, and I know his situation was different. It was more about like, let's see if he can get healthy playing week in and week out kind of a deal, as opposed to you're not good enough, why don't you go over there on loan kind of a deal. His situation was, I think, slightly different when he called to Bajcetic, but he could be possibly that guy. Like in terms of skill sets, I think he's that guy. But do they think he is good enough? That's what remains to be seen. I guarantee you he'll be in the preseason. I don't think he'll be sold earlier before that, but he could be one of those guys similar to like a Carvalho, where we throw him out there and everybody's like, he was actually pretty good. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, he's gone. And the price goes up and stuff like that. So, yeah. And, that's what I want to see. Robertson staying, getting rest, playing once a week. So playing like the old Robertson, as opposed to every 3 day Robertson is gone at this age. I don't think you can get that and expect that. Really, it's probably not fair to him. But I wish I had more transfer news to share and we can really dissect stuff. But maybe on Wednesday. And more importantly, on Wednesday morning, we'll have a reunion. Gordo is going to be back in action. So we'll get the chill crew back in action. John is here as always, obviously myself. And Gordo is back in action, making an appearance like the good old days, the Wednesdays crew over here. But I'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. So while that, you will have to set your alarm to get up in the middle of the night to come and watch us. We do have a couple, actually, people who do watch us live. I think Mr. Barrett is one of them. Gomez stays. I hope. I hope so. That's like me personally, because I love the dude. Like I think like his demeanor, how he carries himself. I think he's like a great, great, great guy to have on a team. So, and like I want him to. I want that freaking goal for Liverpool for that kid. That's what I want. I want to see him score that goal. So I don't care if they like we do him in preseason, he takes a penalty kick or something, but I want him to score that goal for Liverpool. He deserves it. He's been a huge part. Gomez basically picked up the torch for Lauren, where anything that went wrong in defense somehow was his fault, even though half the time it wasn't. Everybody who at that, let me get this off my chest over here. Who at that time, not to freaking bash on Trent, because who was never back there, and even when he was back there, he was asleep half the time, just because they saw Gomez on the screen at the same time on their TV, put the blame on freaking Gomez. Whereas it was 80% of that time, it was Trent's just sleeping in a give and go and stuff like that. But because Gomez in the vicinity, because the last ditch effort was by Gomez, everybody put the blame on Gomez. So I don't think so. Yeah, it is. It is. But I do want him to get that goal. And I do want it. Like I say, to me, I would keep the kid, because I think like he's like a model player. And you can kind of tell his interactions with the rest of the team, with Van Dijk and all those guys too. So I hope he does stay. But I'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, with Bickler and Galley, the 24-hour gang. And like I say, I'll be back Wednesday morning with the gang. So thanks a lot today for everybody hopping on. Give the likes, subscribe if you have not already. And then I'll see you guys tonight. Have a great week. And hopefully, we'll be talking some transfer news. So have a great day, everybody. Take care.